We have a question from Daniel, who's one of our super fans on the channel. We're currently using Workspace Standard Flexible. When is the time to upgrade to Business Plus? And, or is that not necessary? They have a small team, less than 5 employees. Is there an existing video on this? There may be, but I'm going to recover this because Google changes their plans quite often. And so Google Workspace is now split into both enterprise plans and business plans. And if you've got less than 200 employees, it probably makes sense that you're on a business plan rather than enterprise, unless you have very specific reasons for some of the enterprise features in your business. Like, for example, if you're in the medical or the financial space and you need additional data loss prevention tools, or you need to keep compliant with something like HIPAA or keep compliant with something like Australian privacy principles in locking down additional security protocols for your staff information. But if you're considering upgrading from your standard business plan or business starter or business standard up to Business Plus, here's some of the things that you can expect in that plan. So Business Plus Edition is the highest tier of the business plans that are available before you then go up into the enterprise plans. It's a little bit more per person, and you can see here it's valid for up to 300 users, and for each user you get 5 terabytes of pooled storage. Now, Google previously gave unlimited storage to all of their business plans on G Suite, and when they started switching everyone over to Google Workspace, they introduced a limit, which is a bit of a bummer, to be honest. But for most people, 5 terabytes per user is absolutely ample. Unless you're in a business where you're a heavy media user, you're probably going to be okay what Google has allocated in terms of their storage pools. But apart from storage, what else might you be interested in upgrading to the Business Plus plan? Well, you get additional meetings, so meetings with up to 500 participants, and you also get attendance tracking as well. So this would be useful for someone who is running events inside of Google Workspace. If you want to, for example, use Google Meet, automatically stream it to something like YouTube, but have, really large meeting with a lot of active attendees actually inside your Google Meet meeting. Google have created the ability to create really large meetings, but also given you administration tools now right inside of Google Meet. And so let me open up on the right-hand side here, the host controls. And inside the host controls, you can see I can actually switch on host management. So if I'm running a big meeting, what that allows me to do is to actually access some additional features and controls for those that are in my meeting. So you can see here I can restrict people from sharing their screen, from sending chat messages, even from jumping in and using their microphone. And so immediately this allows Meet to transform into a more of a conference tool rather than just a meeting tool. Things like breakout rooms, you can designate admins who can help support you to control breakout rooms and actually set up in breakout rooms as well, so that you don't have everybody on the call able to access things like that. And you can see here that I have the option to actually switch on attendance tracking, which gives me a report after the meeting and lets me know who was actually active in that. Now, this is the kind of thing that schools will use every day, but it makes sense that if you're a training organization of some sort, you probably want to track who is in use there of your meetings, who's actually showing up. Most commercial training organizations will be on a business workspace account rather than using an education workspace account, which most educational institutions will use if you're like a high school or a university. And so this is really great that these features are coming into the business plans now, especially for those working in commercial applications of education. You can see here, you've got the ability to manage your Q&A sessions as well. Now, Google also allow you to add up to 500 participants for each meeting, which is a pretty crazy number, and it works brilliantly. Now, the thing that I love about Google over, competitors such as maybe Zoom, and I had someone ask me about this the other day. They were having a streaming company or an online education company actually sharing large meetings using Google Zoom. And they were finding that it was starting to kind of skip and jump, and their computer was freezing, even though it was a pretty well-spec'd Mac. And it was because there were just so many video streams coming into their computer that it was actually starting to slow down the graphics card on their actual machine. And what happens is, because Zoom is running locally on your computer, it's using a lot more of your local resources, particularly your RAM and your graphics resources. Whereas when you use Google Meet, it's all running in the browser. And when it runs in the browser, it means that Google's supercomputers are doing the heavy lifting for you, and your machine is just basically downloading effectively one video stream, which makes it look a whole lot easier for you. But also Google is constantly optimizing that experience so your local computer is not overloaded. So useful there for those kind of businesses. The most important features when upgrading to Business Plus are both Vault and additional endpoint management. Now, Vault is something that I really love, and this is absolutely standard for any business who is perhaps in the medical or the legal or the financial or consulting field. If you are someone who is giving advice over email, if you're someone who is dealing with sensitive data over email, if you are someone who, if an employee says something in particular to a particular customer and you might get sued over it at some point in the future, Google Vault is an absolute must for your business. And what Vault does is it effectively stores a carbon copy of every single email that's come in and out of your business in a secure location, which is called Google Vault. And inside that vault, when you are ready, you can go and search. You go to ediscovery.google.com and it will allow you to actually log in and access your team's information that has been stored in there. So you can choose your retention settings, and for most people, they're just going to retain all of their information indefinitely. But for me, I can go in here and I can see any of my retained information. I'm going to go ahead and see what's been retained in here if I can. Let's search for email addresses. I may just search for my own. It's probably the easiest thing. And I can go ahead and run a search. And what that's going to do is it's going to show me all of the information that has actually been stored against my account. Now, what this lets me do is run one single search. And let's say, for example, you have a situation where a customer says, all right, I want to sue you because of, what XYZ said in their email chain. But that employee has already left your company. Now, as long as you have properly archived their email account, and we've got other videos on offboarding processes for staff, then what happens is all of their information will be stored in Vault, and you can run one search and see any emails to that customer across your whole organization. And so Vault is a really amazing tool because what it does is it lets you see everything and keep everything. And most business owners, when they go to sleep at night, are a little bit worried if, maybe their staff said something bad to that customer on email. And, there's always that worry of like, oh, okay, when is one customer going to come back and try and sue me over something that someone said on email 3 years ago? This is basically your cover your ass policy because you've got everything documented inside your business. And it also means that your team, if there is ever any kind of, malicious event where you have a team member, in the unfortunate circumstance that they decide to do something against the policies of the business or, in conflict with the business, then you also have absolutely everything saved inside of Vault as well. Now, finally, advanced endpoint management is also really useful. And what that does is that actually helps you to enforce additional policies on your staff mobile phones. And so what these policies allow you to do is restrict the kind of things that someone can do on their phone when they have company data on it. For example, many people will roll without a passcode on their phone, which I think is completely crazy, but some people do it. And so what this allows you to do is as soon as someone logs in with their business account on their personal phone, it lets you enforce a passcode. And so immediately they will receive a prompt, and that prompt will actually pop up and say, hey, you're trying to access company data, but you now need to make sure that there is a passcode enabled on your phone before we will download any company data to your phone. And it will enforce that on their device. So they have to do that whether it's an iOS device or an Android device. Amazing feature. There's also a number of other policies and applications that you can enforce on those mobile devices, but that's the most important one. Imagine this scenario. You've got an employee and they, leave their phone on a bus or a train or something like that, and they've got all of your company data on it. And all it takes is for someone to pick up that phone, swipe right, and they're able to access your drive, your financial documents, your CRM system, your email system. That's the kind of thing that can, cause people to end up in situations where they've been hacked or they've lost money, because you can have someone who has maybe got access to an employee's email account and kept access to that and started pretending to be that employee. And that's where, some business owners will receive an email purportedly from their finance manager saying, hey, I need you to make this transfer of $10,000 to this international account. I need you to do it today. Otherwise the supplier is going to cut us off. But that money is going to a third party in another country who's not going to give that money back to you. And so that unfortunately happens pretty commonly. But these are the kind of security things that you should be thinking about as a business owner or an administrator of Google Workspace to help protect your users and also to protect the business as well. So the question here is this suitable for a business with less than 5 employees? Well, what I would say is if you are in consulting, if you're in the legal space, if you're in the accounting space, if you're in the medical space, absolutely. And I would even consider an enterprise plan. Chat to our team about that and some of the additional features and security features that you get with an enterprise plan. or if you are a small business who really cares about your protection of your privacy and of your data, it might make sense to roll out some additional controls there for mobile devices. If you like this content, please hit subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can be notified when we go live or drop new content on the channel. Now, if you'd like to connect with us, hit us up on social media or join our free community group. All the links to that are right below this video. If you'd like to learn more about Google Workspace and the technology ecosystem, you can join our free Genius Academy by transferring your billing across to IT Genius. Or you can join a Workspace Basics Bootcamp. Now, if you're a business owner and you're interested in an audit on your technology stack or your Workspace account, or you're looking to do a project in the tech world, well, you can take advantage of our free consultation. And if you need help right now, then consider joining Concierge or taking up a quick fix with our team for professional support for your tech stack.